Hey folks, it's been a while, but this is another video guided reading notes type of thing that we're going to be doing in class or for homework, and then we'll talk about it real quick in class. And this is Trouble in America, and we're looking at post-Revolutionary War, United States. So here we go. All right, so real quick, I would like you to jot down, this is your guess. Name three things that were failing in America after the Revolutionary War. One begins with an I, one begins with a G, and one begins with an E. So jot down your own thoughts, and then we'll tell you the true answers on the next slide. All right. So pause the video right now, if you would. Guess and then fill in the right answers in a little bit. Right. Okay. Individual rights and democracy is the first thing that was failing in America after the Revolutionary War. And we'll be talking about these things as we go through the video. Government. Government was also failing in America after the Revolutionary War, as was the economy. Yes, folks, the economy was not doing too well after the Revolutionary War. And that's what we're talking about. This is like 1781, well, actually 1777 to 1787. These are the years that we're looking at. And I know the Revolutionary War ends in 81 with the Battle of Yorktown. There's more battles, yes. Treaty of Paris, 1783. But really was the era that we're looking at, these 10 years. Okay? All right, so some changes in society after the revolution. Notice I put down three questions. Question 1, question 2, and question 3. It's also on your sheet of paper or your computer, whatever you're using. And what I would like you to do is to guess the answer to each of the next three questions. So take a few minutes and jot down your thoughts. What steps do you think were made to make a true democracy, and some steps that you think maybe were ignored? The second question, how did state governments change? All right, so maybe that was something totally new. And why were there struggles between states at this time? And jot down your thoughts. The third question is, what might be some economic struggles that the young country faced? All right, so if you notice, these are the same I, G, and E that we were talking about. I being individual rights, N/democracy. I just got rid of the individual rights, but it's the same idea. The G was governments, and the E was economic. All right, so again, if you can see the pointer, I'm not too sure. It says democracy, governments, and then economics. All right. Okay, so some notes here. Some steps that you thought and to make a true democracy, and some steps that were ignored. So democracy was not happening in America during and post Revolutionary War. Not everybody was seen as an equal. All right. There's many voices still not being heard. We have women, we have African Americans, obviously Native Americans, and you wanted to be heard, you still need to be a rich white male who owned property. Now, there are some pieces that are starting to grow towards democracy. One is that slavery actually was becoming outlawed in some of the northern states. All right, so that's a huge, huge movement. Um, and another thing is actually in New Jersey. New Jersey is the first state to allow women the right to vote, and it was temporarily, 1776 to 1844. When we change our Constitution in 1844, we take that right away. Now, this would be women who owned property, but still, women did have a chance to vote in New Jersey. So, these were some steps that they did to make a true democracy, but also some steps that they did ignore. All right. 2. How did state governments change? And why were there struggles between certain states? All right, so that's our next question. And now the state governments, they actually had some written constitutions jotted down, and every single state at the time, there was 13 states, and they each had their own Bill of Rights, a written down Bill of Rights. Now, England had a Bill of Rights in 1689, but it was never really written down. All right, and so we have this at this point, and this is huge to have this Bill of Rights for each and every individual state. So we have some problems with that, all right? And that's one thing we're going to be getting into. You think you're solving a problem, but you could be creating a new problem. It's called problem solved, problem created. And if every state has their own Bill of Rights, that's great. But all of a sudden, what's going to happen? Every state's Bill of Rights is a little bit different. All right, so there could be problems within that. All right, the structure of the government. Most of the states had weak judicial and executive branches because they had no trust in the king and they had no trust in the court system. And therefore, when they made their own country and their own states, they're like, well, you know what? Power gets to the heads of individuals. So we're going to just keep this government in the hands of the people. So they create a strong legislative branch with the consent of the people because that was their main goal. Their main goal was that the people would have a voice, not some leader, not the courts, but the people. And that's why the legislative branch is the most powerful in this type of government. But all the states are not unified, all right, because the common goal of getting rid of Britain was gone. Once we win the Revolutionary War, all the states, they were fighting in it, and then now they're like, they have nothing in common. They're like Southerners and New Englanders, totally two different worlds. All right. Our third question is, what might be some economic struggles the young country faced? So what's some economic struggles? And we're going to be talking about a specific economic struggle in class, but this is some generic stuff. So how the society changed with economy. One, they had to find new trading partners to sell goods to because England was not going to buy their goods. This was their mother country. Now we basically slapped the mother in the face and we think that they're going to buy our goods anymore? I don't think so. And not every other country was really fond of American goods. And so we had to find new trading partners. The second piece here for the economy is that the English goods were flooding the market. We could have, yes, we fought them in a war and they weren't buying our stuff, but we were so glad to finally get our hands on English products again. Whatever it might be, tea, whatever it could be, I don't know. But we wanted that stuff, the industrial goods, any food types, coffees maybe, I don't know. But the English goods were flooding American markets once again because people wanted these things. And that was bad for the U.S. businesses because everyone's not buying U.S. goods. And so our businesses were failing, which struggles on our economy. And then last but not least, the inflation was worse at the end of the war because, A, you have these English goods selling and not the American goods. So American goods need to, figure out what they're going to do with their products. And they were losing money. So the cost of the goods naturally were going up. So you have an increase of the price and not too many people are buying it. So it's really bad for the economy of America. And war profiteers, people who were making money off of the war. All right. Now, our next piece here is, so how would you create a new government where each state is seen as separate and sovereign? Basically, each state is equal. And this was really tough. And we had to create a document that really sets up these ground rules. We started it in 1777, all right? But it's not ratified by the states, approved by the states until 1781. There's 4 years of our country where we have no government whatsoever because we're fighting a war. This is the situation. So that's why it takes so long for it to happen. All right. But there's more to that. So we'll see. Now, hold on a second. What in the world were we doing fighting the war? What kind of government did we really want in a Declaration of Independence? We wanted separate sovereign states. All right, what type of government did Thomas Paine recommend? He recommended a republic, if you remember. All right, and then our third piece, what did they claim they were going to be when they signed the Declaration of Independence? And basically, it was a confederacy. It was a state-run government. All right, and what is a confederacy like? Well, we're going to talk about that in class. I gave you a nice big area to jot down some thoughts. So if you go to the third page, I believe it is, and you'll see a huge area at the top of that page. All right. Articles of Confederation. Now, the Articles of Confederation was our government. This was our first government. If you want to put that on your next to your thing, it says Articles of Confederation. Then you can put a little dash. Our first government of America. And it was considered to be a firm league of friendship between each and every individual states. And this was exactly what Ben Franklin planned, the Albany Plan of Union in 1754 stated. It would be a firm league of friendship. And we were using that same idea. And we'll talk a little bit more about that in class with what is a confederacy like. The executive and judiciary branches in each state was, up to them, right? So every state could have their own executive or judicial branch. There was no federal executive or judicial branches at all. So how we have the president and the Supreme Court, that did not exist back then. It was only the governor and the courts like we have in Camden or in Trenton, all right? And Congress was powerless. I know you're going, wait a second, I thought it was supposed to be in the hands of the people, but it's up to each individual state's Congress. The state Congress was very powerful. All right, as I said earlier, we have a problem solved, problem created situation, and this is our problem, right? And these are our last two slides. War was still happening in the western part of America, all right? That's the east of the Mississippi River part. And some states have land in the west, all right? So New York had land out there, Pennsylvania had some land out there, Massachusetts, I think, did, Virginia did, North Carolina, and the such. But other states, New Jersey, Delaware, they didn't have that land. And that's kind of harsh, all right? So the states without that land, they were afraid. At the end of the war, we had to pay off a debt. And all of a sudden, every state has to have an individual debt. And they're thinking, oh my gosh, we have no land to sell to pay off our debt. What are we going to do? And they thought it was an unfair advantage for those other states that have all that land. And so we have a solution. Our solution is turn all that land, all the land west of the Appalachian Mountains and east of the Mississippi River, all right, we would give that over to the federal government and let Congress, the federal Congress, the one that didn't have a lot of power, all right, they were allowed to make up some new states. And then individual people would then buy the land from the federal government. It sounds like a genius idea, but think. Are there any new problems that might be created from this solution? All right, so that's what we're going to leave you off with. And enjoy. Make sure this is done by class time on Friday. Thanks.